I hope there's a problem. Okay. If you guys can hear me now, that would be great. Just give me a moment. All right. Yeah. Hello and welcome to the fifth and the final hands-on workshop and AMS session under the Informatica's Data Engineering Hackathon 2024. My name is Shakti Singh, and I'm part of Hack the Skill team, and I'll be the host for you today. So today we are covering one of the most interesting services of Informatica, that is INFACore. Feel free to check out the resource section in your participants dashboard altogether to go over the topics that we have covered so far in our previous four, hands-on workshops with two different speakers altogether. So that's on your dashboard. Do check it out. If you're new to this platform, do register yourself. The registration will close by 11th. So, to help set the context here, the primary agenda of today's hands-on workshop is to, delve into the Informatica's InfaCore and embedded data management services. So, we'll explore its architecture, key benefits, and the components involved. Our expert will even guide you through installation and wrap up with a live demo showcasing its capabilities, followed by Q&As. If we have any questions from you, if you may have, incur to have any questions during the whole session, feel free to put it in the comment section. We will pick it up from there at the end of the, overall hands-on workshop. So, without any further ado, we also have our trainer with us, our mentor, our special guest. So let's welcome Abhilash Mula with us. Hi, Abhilash.
Hey Shakti, thanks for having me.
I have you. So I'll give you a quick background about Abhilash. Abhilash is an industry veteran with 20 plus years of experience into product management. He is currently servicing at the position of Senior Manager of Product Management at Informatica. Thank you so much for joining us today and, for picking up this session for all of us. It's a great opportunity for all of us to learn from you and to you helping us know more about Informatica and its, various services altogether. So I will not take the spark from here. would request you to kindly introduce yourself quickly and maybe get started with the workshop.
Sure. Thanks, Shakti.
Thank
Glad to be here. Yeah, before I get started, get into INFACore, about myself, my name is Abhilash Mula. I'm part of the product management team here at Informatica, primarily focusing on data integration products. My primary focus at Informatica is I kind of work on the serverless technologies on the data integration side, and additionally, I lead some AI ML initiatives. There's other products like Model Serve, and also InfaCore, which I'll be talking about today. Right. So, been with Informatica for many years. I worked in many departments, part of the services team, worked in sales. Past few years, I've been part of the product management team. So with that, let's dive into InfaCore. InfaCore basically is a new service that we launched around roughly last year, mid of last year. And I'll talk about what this is, and what are the use cases that it will solve, and where does this help you in your data warehousing or data lake projects, right? And it actually does help you more than beyond data lake and data warehouse. In fact, this is one of the product a lot of data scientists use with AI/ML use cases as well. So I'll touch about those as well. Just a safe harbor statement, just in case if there are any forward-looking statements as part of my presentation, those are all subject to change. All right, so let's dive right. So just to set the context here, if you look at the trend that's happening in the market, the amount of data sources that we access have been growing every day, right? Traditionally we used to get data from mostly relational systems or more structured data, right? But with more and more things, the amount of systems grow, right? Any enterprise, every enterprise is adopting multiple systems, whether it's mobile or social or IoT devices, and it's very important that every enterprise ingest this data, right, for whether it's analytics or for AI ML use cases. So this data is growing, um, and it requires a lot of automation to process this type of data, right? So with the data volume, take any enterprise, data does not stop. Every year it goes, right? And it's important that you have automation in place where you can process this data for whatever business need it is, right? Whether it's analytics or AI ML. Now, with that, let's take a look at this architecture, and this is just one use case where InfaCore fits in, and you can use beyond cloud data lake and data warehousing implementation as well. And I think my colleagues may have I've talked to this slide. So if you are implementing a data lake or data warehouse, this is a very typical architecture, right? So you have data sources sitting in many systems within an enterprise. You have databases, mainframes, sitting on on-prem servers. You have cloud applications like Salesforce, ServiceNow, and you have IoT devices, which you're streaming data. Now, typically, how customers use our products is they implement a data lake, right, which is like a cloud storage, S3 or ADLS or Google Cloud Storage. And then they also have a data warehouse. I mean, this is one scenario, but there are customers who actually take the data directly from on-prem systems, put directly into data warehouse. So there are many architectural patterns, but this is the most common one that we see, right? And that's why I'm showing the most common architecture that we see, right? So typically customers land the data into a lake. There's a landing zone within the lake. These are nothing but different buckets within the cloud storage, right? There's a raw zone, and then you enrich the data, and then there's a enterprise zone where there is clean data. Now once the data is in a format where it can be consumed, this data goes into a data warehouse, which is consumed by your analytic tools, whether it's Power BI or MicroStrategy or whatever, right? And it's consumed by the end user. Now, the way Informatica products are used to get the data into the lake, we are basically ingesting the raw data. We use our mass ingestion product to get the data here, and then you use our advanced integration to process the data, which uses Spark Engine underneath to process the data inside the data lake, right? Why advanced integration is better? Because with the lake you are dealing with different file formats. Like Parquets have become the new CSV of the world now, right? So that's why you need some advanced engines to process this data, right? And then the enriched data goes into data warehouse. Now, having said that, there's a very common scenario that you see, right? Now, as the technology evolved, the data inside the lake is also used for different use cases, right? Like I said, data from the warehouse is going for analytics, but now we have a different use cases where we are not reporting. Like typically, the data warehouses are reporting what happened in the business the previous day or something like that. But we want to become more intelligent. We want to predict what's going to happen in the future based on certain events in the past, right? So what the new use cases that we are seeing is that there's a data scientist persona who is getting the data from the lake and is building the preparing this data further, and is building some AI/ML models and deploying them as well, right? So this data inside the lake is also used for AI/ML use cases. And the way we see it is INFACore, and we have another product model, sir, which we are not covering in this session, but it actually helps with this data science and AI/ML projects, right? So the data from the lake is used by INFACore for preparing and building, and also training the models, and then model server comes in to deploy and consume the model. So this is where we see INFACore fits into the overall cloud data lake or cloud data warehouse architecture. And INFACore can also be used independently, even if you don't have a data science use case. If you're just doing data engineering and you love Python, or coding in Java or Scala, you can still use INFACore beyond this use case. But just to set the context, I'm taking one architecture pattern where INFACore helps you, right? So we'll kind of touch on this today. So now let's go into the product, right? So now, if you are familiar with Informatica, right, or even if you leave Informatica, putting Informatica aside, right? Now, if you are a data engineer and you have to, build some ETL pipelines, typically there are three types of interfaces, right? There's a no-code interface. If you're familiar with Power Center or a cloud data integration, there's a GUI where you can drag and drop, and you can build your ETL pipelines. There are a lot of pre-built options inside there, transformations, data quality. You can do data quality. We provide out of the box transformations. You can parse unstructured data, all the good stuff, right? But it's all done through a typical, drag and drop approach. Now we have a different persona as well, where some people like to hand code, right? Write everything in Python or Java, or whatever, right? And the way you look at it is, if you are familiar with Informatica, typically we prepare the data that's needed for analytics, right? Meaning, like within IDMC, there's no presentation layer, right? So we only prepare the data, put it in the data warehouse, and then there is a presentation layer. Now the use cases have evolved, right? So we see analysts who want to quickly prototype things. I have a customer recently who asked, they want to prepare, like build an app on top of IDMC, so they can, data analysts can process some Excel files in a self-serve manner, right? So whether you are doing some rapid application development, or you want to customize something, or build a custom app on top of IDMC, meaning that you need a presentation layer, right? And that's where this low code or hand coding approach comes helps you, right? And what we are talking about today is the low code approach, meaning like InfaCore is a platform where you can actually code your data engineering jobs, or even build an app on top of it using Python or your favorite programming language. And we provide a lot of functionality. All the IDMC functionality that's available today in cloud data integration are exposed through APIs. Now, if you're writing, like 100 lines of code, we automate a lot of code for you in order to achieve that functionality, right? Or solve your use cases. So again, in the data management development, we have three different personas, and we want to help each of this persona, whether you are a no code user or a low code user, or you love hand coding. We want to help you with that, right? And this is how we see, different there are different players in the market, and we want to cater the platform to each of these users. Now, Let me skip this slide and jump into InfaCore directly, right? So what exactly is InfaCore? So again, if you are familiar with CDI, or if you already have attended the CDI presentation, right? We have this, drag and drop interface. Now, like I mentioned earlier, we have a different group of people who are saying, I want to code the data engineering jobs, right? Or build some apps on top of it. Now, instead of telling the user to come to, CDI and, do the drag and drop, we want to take our IDMC platform to the developer and let them code in their favorite IDE, let them use their own favorite language, right? But we want to provide the functionality of IDMC to that user. So what we did is, we have opened our IDMC platform. We are providing SDKs, Python SDK, Java SDK, and things like that, right? So the idea with InfaCore is to make it open as much as possible, and so that it can be extended to any programming language. You can use any IDE, so that we are democratizing all of the IDMC functionality or data management functionality for any developer, so they can build data driven applications, right? So that is the idea around InfaCore. So it is basically same IDMC, the same functionality that you are familiar with CDI, but think of like everything is exposed so that you can code in Python, for example. That is what we are talking about, right? Yeah, hope that makes sense. So again, this is like a kind of high level architecture, how it works. So IDMC, again, you will see as a service. I'll kind of walk through a live demo how it works. So basically, for example, if you're using Jupyter Notebook, right? So we provide a plugin for popular IDEs and browsers, and you install the plugin, and there's actually a SDK. All you do is just write a simple command as import InfaCore, and that's basically InfaCore gets imported into your Python IDE. And what is the added advantage we are bringing, right? You may think that, hey, I have pandas in Python that I can, which has a very extensive list of functions and or data transformation that it can provide. But what is the benefit that Informatica is bringing to the Python developer? Like, let's say you want to connect to like a Zendesk, and to do some quick analysis on that. Like, I have a customer who wants to quickly, do some prototyping on ServiceNow data. They have data coming from, various this ServiceNow ticketing system. They want to prep the data quickly and see, how the business is running, right? Now, there are no native connectors for things like Zendesk or ServiceNow in Python. Like, you have to call their specific APIs, or make REST calls, right? So the added advantage we are bringing is all the connectors that are available today in IDMC, and these are like very purpose-built connectors, very well tested, and they support many authentication authorization mechanisms. And you can use all these connectors within your Python IDE, right? So that's one added advantage we get. Now, we provide out of the box functions. So if you are familiar with both Python and CDI, and you want to use our basic transformations, like whether it's aggregator, or you want to do some use the abort function with an expression, it's a very simple use case, but you could use all those out of the box functionality, that the transformation language, the function language that you are familiar with. And if you know Python, you can exactly use it in with InfaCore as well. Now, where we Informatica adds advantages, data quality, right? We have a very strong data quality offering where we can do address standardization, um, address validation, and all of the functionality, right? Whether it's validating SSNs, or any of the data quality functionality that we provide, those are exposed as a Python SDK as well. So that way you can embed. Now, Python, or the open source Python library, maybe there could be some libraries where you could use some basic data quality, but all the data quality rules that we built over many years, now they are exposed as Python SDK, and you could use as part of your you could use as part of the InfaCore code, right? And again, if I extend that further, all the clear capabilities as well. Like, for example, we have intelligent structured discovery. If you want to parse JSON or XML, or any of the unstructured data, Excel files, right? those can be used as part of InfoCore as well. Like you don't have to write many lines of code to parse an Excel file or to parse a JSON file, And I'll show you as part of the demo how Clear helps you do some of this using intelligent structure discovery with InfoCore. Okay, but all the Clear capabilities, whether it's engine or whether you are pushing down to Snowflake or the data warehouse, all those capabilities will be available, and you can still stay within your same IDE, whether it's a Jupyter Notebook or PyCharm, you can still use that. But we are extending this functionality. We are bringing this functionality to you as a, if you're a Python developer. So just to summarize, like InfaCore is not for a user who wants to drag and drop. This is more for a developer who wants to code things, right? And we are trying to automate things for that coder. If I have to oversimplify it, if you are writing 100 lines of code, think of we are writing more than 70 lines of code for you for complex use cases. So that way it simplifies, and then you don't have to worry about the underlying compute as well. For Python, you may be running the Python on your laptop, but you can push it down to our secure agent or serverless or whatever it is, right? You can still use the engines that we provide. And more importantly, as you operationalize these jobs, right, even the hand coding jobs, you need statistics, you need metering, you need some audit information. All of that will be available within the IDMC as well. So you may think like coding is very easy, I can build something, put in a cron time and build it. But as you operationalize it, things like auditing and all of this come to the picture, right? So that's where Informatica helps you with InfoCore. All right. With that, let me actually show a small demo. It's not really a hands-on workshop, but I'll show you what it takes to get started with InfoCore, and run some basic commands to get started, right? And again, like I said, the prerequisite for using InfoCore is that you have to know Python. All right. Let me log in to it. So if you go into IDMC, you will see a service name called InfoCore. And again, if you have played around with other products like data integration, they have a separate UI, right? I mean, there's within the browser, you can build your ETL pipelines. Now, the only difference with InfoCore is when you click on the service, it does not have full-fledged IDE. It just takes you to the homepage, and you can download the InfoCore package. Like I said, it's basically an extension to like Jupyter Notebook or PyCharm or whatever, right? So you can download the InfoCore packages from here. There is a quick start guide. The SDK guide is also available, like how to use Informatica functions within Python and all of that, right? And there's a getting started video. Now, as a user, if you want to get started with InfoCore, you have to just download the InfoCore package, and then it will essentially basically it will download a wheel file, right? Now, if you are familiar with Python, you may know what a wheel file is, right? And if you need to install InfoCore, let's say on your laptop, let me actually pull up my terminal. Yeah, so basically what you can do is you can go into your terminal and run a simple command as like, pip install, and then provide the wheel file name, and InfoCore gets installed on your laptop. Now, before that, I assume like, you already have Python installed on your laptop. That's a prerequisite. You need to install Python before doing this. With Python, you get pip, and then, you use the wheel file to install this InfoCore package. Now, once InfoCore is installed, let's say, for example, if you are, I don't know how many of you are familiar with PyCharm, but there are different ways to install. You can run it from command line using pip, or you can go to, if you are using PyCharm, you can go to the settings, and you can look at the various packages that are installed here, right? In my case, Farco should be somewhere here. Yeah, you can see in my case INFACore is all installed here, right? So there are different ways you can install a wheel file inside your Python interpreter, right? Now once you do that, so for the sake of the demo, what I'll do is I'll show a demo using the Jupyter notebook, because we have a nice plugin there. So as part of this download package, we also have instructions on how to install the plugin on Jupyter Lab, and I'll share the instructions later. But once the plugin is installed within your Jupyter notebook, you will see a Informatica icon within your browser. If you are looking at my mouse pointer on the right hand side, you can see there is a plugin that I already installed, right? So this essentially logs you into IDMC from your Jupyter notebook. Okay, so here I'll just provide my IDMC credentials, and if I go here, you can see, right? So here you can see, I'm listing all the connections that are available within IDMC. I talked about the data quality rules, whether it's validating email addresses, standardizing country names, all of that, right? And also the unstructured data parsing, that's also available here, so you can use all the functionality. So you have two options. Let's say you're a new, just getting started, you want to create a connection from INFACore, right? I can do it two ways. I can write a code to let me actually clear this. So I can do it two ways. One is I can code everything, right, from creating the connection, testing the connection, or I can, use. I mentioned the low code approach, right? So where I can create the connection as well. So I can click on Amazon S3, and oh, crap. Sorry, the runtime environment secure agent is not running, but it actually opens a dialog similar to what you see inside IDMC, and you can actually create the connection, right? So assume that the connection is created, and I will show you like a very simple use case here. Let's say you want to connect to Oracle from INFACore, and basically read some data, right? So like I mentioned, the prerequisite is that you can ignore this as well. The prerequisite is you have installed INFACore using pip or any other means. And within the Jupyter notebook in this cell, I'm importing INFACore. Okay, so password is visible there. I should have put in environment variable, but anyway. So yeah, you can see now the first statement is just I'm importing the Informatica packages, and then you can also run a help command to see if INFACore is installed correctly. And then I'm registering my INFACore package as well. So you can see, it will provide you, some links for registering. Now here, if you have multiple agents within your IDMC, you can use any of the agents. So in my case, like if I go back to my IDMC, I have multiple agents. I'm only using one of the runtime environment here. So let me, what I'm doing here is just, setting the user configuration, that, what is my username, password, what is my IDMC URL, and also the runtime environment. So I run this. So what it is doing is it's basically logging me into IDMC using this command, right? So using this setup commands, it's actually logging me into IDMC. So it has set up a runtime environment and everything. Now, once the runtime environment is set up, I can go back and click on this, for example, on the right-hand side. As you can see here, when I clicked on S3, it's actually showing me that I already have two connections to S3. Okay, and you can add more if you want. When you click on the plus, and you can see it actually pops a dialog, or you can even write few lines of code to actually do what I just did by clicking, right? So there are many ways to that you can create a connection or test a connection that we are automating for the Python developer. Now here, let's say I want to connect to Oracle. So there's already a connection that is created. Let's say I go to Oracle, and I should see some connections called NSC and data warehouse. Yep, you see that's a connection, and I want to use that within InfaCore, right? So I'll use that connection. And basically what I'm doing with this is, just testing the connection because it's already created, right? If it's not created, you can actually create the connection as well. And as you can see, it's saying, the connection is successful. It is more or less like going into the admin console and, making sure, you click on the test button, right? Now, instead of that, you are basically staying within the same IDE and connecting to this, right? Now I want to see what all objects are within that Oracle schema, right? So what I can do is I'll run this command. So it's basically saying, InfoCore, get the data sources from this Oracle connection, and then within that Oracle, I have many connections. I'm saying connect to this Oracle database using this connection and list all the objects, right? So first thing, and here I'll do list objects, and it will show you all the tables within that Oracle schema. Now from here on, I can read one of the table and then load the data into a pandas data frame, and I can use functions that are outside of Informatica. I can do mix and match. I can parse unstructured data and things like that. I can do more and more things, right? So that way you can build your, do visualizations in Jupyter Notebook as well, right? So if you look at this particular example, like once I load into pandas, so this one is basically connecting to Zendesk, and you can see I can do a data preview from the same UI, and I can incrementally export it, and I can count the number of rows. And if I want to do visualizations, I can do use Matplotlib or any of the Python library and do within the same UI, right? Now, that's one way, you can use InfaCore to develop your data engineering jobs or do a quick visualizations using Python. And I'll show you a very interesting use case. Actually, just reminded me. So one of the customer that I work with, um, recently, they had a use case saying that they have an analyst team, right? And it's a large financial company, and they get this different Excel based files from various partners. Okay. And the structure of this Excel files is, it's not consistent, that the structure keeps changing every day, right? And the analysts, they are not familiar with IDMC, or they're not like technical people, right? They don't know Informatica, how to create mappings and things like that. So they wanted like a self-serve tool, like a application that can just upload, like the analyst just want to upload some Excel files, and it will automatically parse it and then provide a CSV file as an output, right? So let me actually walk through that scenario as well here quickly. So here, this is kind of a sample Excel file that the analysts get, right? Yeah, as you can see here, there's order information, and then there is some account information and things like that. And there are multiple sheets within this Excel file as well. So on the sheet one, you can see there's order information as well as account information, and then on the sheet two, there's just order information, right? So they want to extract this data, for some analysis, and the order of the columns will change every day. They don't know how, the schema is not consistent. One day they may get the product ID, one day they will not get the product ID. So it's very dynamic in nature, right? So how do they parse these files? So what they did is, they used InfoCore, and used our ISD functionality as well, and built an app, a Python app, right? Basically using IDMC and other Python libraries, and built a custom app, and deployed that app on the web server. And you can see, what the customer did is, they just gave this URL to the analyst and said, hey, just use this utility and parse these Excel files. Now the way they build the utility is, you can see in the first step, as the analyst can quickly upload a Excel file, right? And then once the Excel file is uploaded, they go to the next screen. um, and then it will show the various elements within that Excel file, right? So if you remember, like what I showed earlier was there was account information, and then there was order information, right? So it will basically, what the utility does is it basically parses all the data information. And here in this step, it's asking the analyst, where do you want to put the data, right? So they wanted to put the data in Oracle. So we actually, the INFACore code behind the scenes is basically connecting to Oracle, right? So now they choose the connection and they try to map it to orders and the account table. So what the INFACore code did is it detected three elements, like two orders and one account, and it's showing you all those elements, right? And the user just mapped those orders and into a specific Oracle table. And it actually does a visualization as well, because as part of the Python code, they could do that as well. It's a, I mean, not mandatory, but nice to, for the analyst to visualize as well what's happening with the mapping, right? And this is how you can see how the fields are mapped automatically, order ID to order ID and things like that. And then once they parse it, they want to send an email as well, that this file has been processed, right? So in the last step, they're just specifying the email address, and saying this is a file we have parsed. And then they just send out that notification. So how is this all built? Like, how did they build the app? Is basically they have coded in pretty much like Python, right? So here you can see they have used INFACore along with other packages, and that particular app was deployed on Streamlit. If you are familiar with Streamlit, it's basically a Python package. It's like a you can deploy lightweight Python apps on top of Streamlit, right? You can build a nice UI using Python. So yeah, essentially they have written a few lines of code, and a lot of this code is automated using InfraCore. Like I said, it's a low code interface, right? They used ISD, where it automated all the Excel parsing. They didn't have to use any custom connections or jar files to connect to Oracle. They just used the connector that's already available in IDMC, right? And you can see a lot of this code is automated by, if you just read the lines of code, it may seem complex, but a lot of this is automated by InfraCore, and they built that custom app. Now, the reason I'm showing this is that InfraCore does not it's not just for data engineering use cases, but you can use InfraCore beyond your traditional data integration and data engineering. Like I said, you can build custom apps. You can use it to build your AI/ML models, or just use for data preparation, visualization, tons of things, ton of use cases that you can use InfraCore with. With that, I'm gonna stop my presentation, and I'm gonna share some of these resources, how to get started with InfraCore. There's a getting started guide. We have published some videos, so we'll share all of that information with it. With that, I'm gonna pause here and pass it on to Shakti. I hope we are on time, Shakti, on this.
Yes, we are. Thanks, Abhilash, for that quick insights on InfaCore and the various services, including. Uh, yeah, we have catched up on time, so I'll just have a quick look scan if people have asked any questions. So I can see one, two here. I'll pull up one. One seems to be yes. It's flashing on your screen. I'll iterate for you. Can I manage millions of SQL based data using Informatica, and to manage those tables directly using the product?
Yes, you can uh, develop mappings using millions of SQL tables, or if you have billions of rows within that SQL table. So the goal is, there is no magic button to process data, right? You need some CPU and memory. Now, in cloud, we provide that elasticity, right? We always match, like we can automatically spin up VMs based on your data processing needs and process any data that you want. So we have serverless within our IDMC that can process any volume, handle any concurrency, connect to any number of tables and things like that. One thing to note that is like, so even though Informatica can handle it, right? Let's say you have millions of tables. I can connect to millions of tables. I can write mappings to connect to that. But can the underlying Oracle database handle so many connections? So you have to consider certain factors. But the short answer is yes, Informatica can handle those tables.
Awesome. Thanks for answering that quickly. So, also, just for everybody's reference, we have all the workshop related kits, workshop related resources on the dashboard. So, if you have already registered for the hackathon, you can check it out on your personalized dashboard. You can, will be also able to access the previous four workshops, which are now listed on under the dashboard altogether. Also, for a heads up, we are closing the idea submissions on 11th, end of the day, which is 11:59 p.m. IST. So, if you haven't yet submitted your innovative solution or idea, make sure you do it before the time, and become a part of the next phase of the hackathon, which is the prototype development, wherein we will be using Informatica services more in depth. And we already have put across the trial version link on the dashboard. You can check it out. It's valid for 45 days. So we'll take it up from there. So in case you still have any questions, you can write us. The email ID for Informatica to reach out to us directly is listed on the website. I'll iterate, that's informatica-deh@hacktoskill.com. So reach out to us in case you're facing any problems related to the platform, related to your submissions. You can join the Discord group as well. We also have a Prime support which has been rolling out to you guys, wherein you can ask us questions directly through WhatsApp channels. So you can join that. You can ask us questions. Our developer relations and our community folks are there. So make sure you are there, aligned and on time with the submissions. But thank you so much for joining us today, Abhilash. We are really pleased to have you. So we will also be hosting this whole session onto the dashboard. So in case you have joined late or maybe missed this out, so you can check it out later for your references, and while you're building up the product altogether. But thank you so much for joining us, everyone, today here, and also thank you so much, Abhilash, for this quick insights and being there with us today. Happy to have you.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Thank you. Have a great day ahead.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.